This Christmas, I want to tell you about two songs and one long pause. I'm Chris Starin, and this is Truce. This is Bolero by Maurice Ravel, a French composer from the late 1800s and the early 1900s. It's one of my favorite pieces of music. It starts out with a slow march, just a few instruments. After a while, you start to realize this is the same tune played over and over again. The orchestration is different with each cycle. It gets louder, but the tune is the same. When Bolero premiered, some people thought Ravel was crazy. There are over 10 minutes of this, over and over again. This piece reminds me a lot of the Old Testament of the Bible. There is this cycle that happens over and over again. Adam and Eve start out with a great relationship with God, and then they fall. The people of God march out of Egypt following God into the wilderness, and then they question him at the first sign of adversity. King David is named a man after God's own heart. Then he has a guy killed and lusts after his wife. There's this rising action, then the fall, the highs and the lows. It's the same tune with different instrumentation, repeated over and over again. Then comes the magnificent silence. 400 years of silence. God had been speaking to his people through the prophets, warning them about their grave errors, their graven images. But they, for the most part, didn't want to hear it. So there are 400 years of silence between the Old Testament and the New, as people waited for hope, a literal Messiah. Meanwhile, there's just silence. Then a star appears in the night sky, showing the way to Jesus. This baby has been sent to earth to contend with this. Our repetitive struggle, rebellion against God, our enslavement to sin, the pattern that we can't seem to get away from. Which brings me to the second song.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel.
If I'm only going to hear one song each Christmas, let it be this one. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel. His birth signaled the beginning of a rebellion against our hopeless loop. It's a rope thrown to helpless sinners.
Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captives like me.
Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
If you enjoyed this, check out the Truce podcast. That's Truce. It's available anywhere you get podcasts.